is Marina from Frocks Frolics with another chapter of the Bobby Dazzler sewing course. For the whole playlist, just visit the description below or click on the info button right here. In this chapter, I'm going to explain to you how to put in these lovely side pockets. Now we're going to sew our pocket and our pocket lining to the front legs. So take your pocket lining first, and you can see here that the darker color of the pocket lining is actually my fabric underside, and the upper side of the fabric is the lighter one. I just liked it better like that. I can't even tell which one was the upper and the underside of the fabric. Doesn't really matter. This one is the one I like, the light one. So right sides together of your front leg and your lining, and then we're going to pin this with a few pins. You can put the pins in vertical to the seam or along the seam, it doesn't really matter here, and we're going to sew this together. And always make sure that you've changed your thread, because really we have the standard thread here. We do not want to have the top stitching thread in, because that's a complete waste of money. So make sure you change it. I forgot it a few times thinking, oh no, it's still on. And when you come to the corner, you might want to change your stitch length to 1.5, so that when we cut into it, to release that point so we can turn the pocket so that it doesn't fray. And on the other side, of course, we do exactly the same. We go down to that corner point, put the needle down, turn the fabric, and go to the end. Beautiful. The next step is to snip into that corner so that we can turn it. So pick up a sharp scissor and cut right to the stitching line. So don't hold back and think, oh, I'm only going to cut halfway. You can't do that. You've got to go all the way. And now we can turn this and iron it, and it'll give us this really nice pocket opening there. It's very cute. Let me know in the comments if you like this too, or whether you would have preferred a straight line. Well, I thought straight line's a bit boring. Now we're going to roll out the seam, so you move your left hand forwards and backwards until the seam sits right in that edge, and then we know it's perfect. Do the same on the other side. Really roll out that edge so it looks absolutely super. And I always iron with lots of steam, and especially denim, you can have that iron on very, very hot, like linen, lots of steam, and you get a pristine edge that we're now going to top stitch all the way down. So don't forget, now we are changing back to top stitching thread, and you want to extend the stitch length to stitch length 4. Go to the point, stitch by stitch, and if you need to check whether you're at the right point so you have the exact same distance always to the edge, then do that. Don't forget to lock in your stitches. Now I'm going to do a secondary stitching line, and as always with these Bobby Dazzlers, we're going to do it foot width. So the right hand side of the presser foot lines up with that edge, and then lock in your stitches and go. When you get to the corner down here, it's best to maybe check whether you're there or not. Better too short than too long, because if it's too long you have to unpick it and start over, so that you get that perfect distance all the way around. You can of course mark that as well if you're not quite sure. Just put a dot of tailor's chalk there measuring the distance if you like, but I don't think it's necessary. Just keep checking while you're doing it. Pull your threads, and that will prevent it from getting stuck. It's a good tip. to be honest. Mine got stuck a few times where I've got these tiny, tiny little stitches at the beginning, but who cares? Really, you don't really see it at the end, especially since most of that disappears in the seam allowances anyway. So I'm now also going to do this foot width, go to the corner, awesome, turn, and all the way back up. And for the next step, we have to change our thread again to standard thread. You might want to do that before you put the pocket under the pocket opening so that the upper edge and the side seam align. And then we're putting in our pins vertical to the seam so that we can leave them in when we're sewing around. Of course, you could also put them in line and then take the pins out, but I quite like it like that. Do the same on the other side. Pop that pocket under. Right side of pocket lining and pocket face each other. And then we're putting in our pins vertical to the seam. Is easiest, I think. Some of you have these little clumpy bits. They're also nice. I don't have them. I'm old school, me. So now we're going to sew this together. You could do a foot width seam allowance here. You do not have to have that as a 1 centimeter seam allowance. It's not really necessary. Try pulling the fabric round when you get to the curve instead of having the needle down, lifting the presser foot to change your direction of sewing. So let's do this again. So what you do is your left hand is a really big part in this. Lock in your stitches, and now watch what I'll do. I don't pull down, I pull it sideways around. The front is always fed in at the same sort of transportation level, if you will. I don't pull to the front, I just pull it sideways and around, and that gives you a much nicer round curve than it would if you lifted the presser foot. If it's a slight curve, that's the way to go. Now we're going to overlock the edge or serge the edge, and you always serge from the side that is visible afterwards. In this case, that's the underside of the actual pocket. Make sure all the pins have been removed so you don't ruin the knife of your serger. That will be a bit of a disaster. We do the same again, and also here you will see me really moving the fabric round with my left hand. There's a lot of force involved in there, even if you can't see it as much. Really, it's none of this light stuff. And that's our beautiful pocket, nicely inserted. You can give that a good press, and we're done with this step. Fantastic looking pockets here. Now we can join the front and put in this faux zipper in the next chapter, and I see you there. If you want to find out more about the Bobby Dazzler dungarees, and this is the only video from the course you've seen, you can watch everything else just by going in the video description, click on the playlist, and you can watch everything from the start, including all the bonus features. Alternatively, click on that info button there, which will also take you to the playlist. And there's also a link to my website where you can purchase the pattern, and a link to my Etsy shop if you prefer to make your purchase on there. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.